all the money I'd had. I closed a pension that I'd had and basically just put a lump of cash in my bank. And I went, right, I've got 3 years. When I get to 3 years, I just need that to be plus.
All right, shall we crack on? Yeah. Cool. Okay, so welcome back to another episode of the Momentum Invest Accelerated Growth Podcast. We've recently rebranded. It was previously Ramsey and White. So we're excited about having a guest on our new show, all about business, property and finance. It's a privilege to have Shane Duff with us here today, former professional footballer, teacher, now in property investing and development. So we've invited Shane onto the podcast. He's kindly joined us in our Bath office today to speak about his journey, and hopefully we can get some lessons from that and some of it Shane's pearls of wisdom that he's learnt along the way. So I'm with my co-host Will Roberts, who's also one of the executives at Ramsey and White. Shane, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Shane, do you want to tell, so the people that don't know about you, you started in football, professional football. How did that come about? That's quite an interesting journey, I guess.
How did it come about? Just being a kid, wanting to play football.
Yeah.
And I've got a brother who's 5 years older than me. He's now currently the Swansea City football manager.
I did see when I was doing a bit of research. Yeah.
So he was like ahead of me. He had got involved in Cheltenham when they were non-league.
Yeah.
And then at Cheltenham they got promoted into the league.
Yeah.
And then when I got in, I went through the youth team football and then got my first professional contract. And then I luckily made my debut in League One, playing next to Michael, my brother. So that's how it started. Then he moved on. He had a fantastic career. And I carried on for 11 years before injury kicked me out and my career wasn't quite as good. I played League One and League Two level.
Being in that professional kind of sports environment, how was it? What education was available to the young players around life after sports or investing in various investments other than themselves in football?
I think there's quite a lot. But ultimately, if you don't want it, if you're not looking for it, you don't go for it.
Yeah.
And there was a few players that I know that they did degrees during their football times. And I think I said to you guys just before this, I did some of my mortgage qualifications while I was still playing.
Yeah.
But I didn't actually end up taking it anywhere because I started to think about it, but it wasn't really at the forefront of my mind.
Yeah. You literally when you come in, you spoke about CMAP because Will was doing CMAP, and in my head straight, I was like, oh, maybe Shane could join the team at Ramsey and White. Okay, yeah. So there's a bit of support there.
There's a bit there, like the Professional Football Association. They're very good.
Yeah.
And they think that everyone says, oh, they got pots of money. They're not there for the players, but they are. And I think if people get into hardship, they are there to help people. And if you want support on education and qualifications, they will help and support. Mm-hmm. But football is so elitist that you don't really want to be seen to be taking your eye off the ball and thinking about something else. Because if you're thinking about something else, are you truly focused on that game on a Saturday?
Yeah.
And it can quickly get levelled at you if you're starting to think about other business interests or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I've heard it before. I remember a time when someone might have set up like a kit manufacturing company. And there's a few people going, oh, well, where's your head at this morning? Are you focusing on your next deal or where your pass is going to go? So it's I can understand how people might try and do it secretly. But then towards the end of their career, into their 30s and mid-30s, it's a little bit more acceptable because it's such a mad industry that you just end. And like the way mine ended, it was just financially, my contract was until June the 30th. I got injured in the March, and that was it. June the 30th, you just don't receive a penny. It doesn't like taper down and you start reducing, your income goes to zero.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow.
You had insurance in place as well. When I was doing a bit of research, you had insurance when you're playing professionally, but they didn't pay out, so your income just stopped.
It does, and that was a big hitter, really. That was a huge thing, because I thought, well, I'd had a couple of little injuries that were niggling away before the last couple of years before, and I played my last game at 28, so I was out of football by the time I was 29. And yeah, I was insured for quite a bit of money, and as it stands, there was some clauses in there that said, oh, actually, well, that injury there was only as a result of you playing football for 11 years, even though it happened in a one-time event. Like, well, so it wasn't really worth the paper it was written.
What was your mindset in that moment? Were you thinking like, this is it, it's over? Or were you just thinking, let's overcome it?
Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
It was like, shit. It was like, oh no, because what I had done, I thought, well, do you know what, I'll start a degree. And I thought, I'll be fine, I'll start a degree, I'll get a bit of cash behind me, I'll look after my next stage in my career, not necessarily football career. And then that just didn't come. And then it was a case of, well, I've started this university course, which was, I'm 6 months into it now. What do I do? And I thought, if I quit the university course because I needed to go and get a job to pay the bills or something, I think I'd have resented it for the rest of my life. And I thought, I've got to find a way to finish this course, but just so I can almost accept the fact that I've moved on. And I'm so pleased that I put myself through some hardship to get the degree done. Even though I'm not using it anymore, it was a big achievement to go do what I did. And
what did you study, so Shane?
Essentially a sports like science sort of coaching degree. Yeah. That it led me into. I became a sports science tutor. Yeah. Up at Hartbury College.
Yeah. I did coaching and development in UWIC.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking PE teacher myself.
Yeah.
So did you do the PCG? Is it PGCE?
I did the PGCE after my degree. Yeah. So I became qualified, and I don't know why it makes no difference, but I'm proud of it, and I'm going to tell you. Yeah. Like I ended up, I was like, right, well, I'm going to go back as an old man to university, sitting in lectures for 18, 19-year-olds. I thought I'm going to make this pay. Yeah. And I qualified with the first class honours. Yeah. And then when I did my PGCE, got a distinction grade. And again, it means nothing to anyone else. Yeah. But it's like a lot of things. Your values inside of yourself, and you want to achieve. Yeah. You want to be a high achiever, and you want to do the best you can do.
What I take away from it is the ability to get something done. Yeah. You know, and I think people say, I can't do this, I can't do that. But well, if you apply yourself, like, could it be possible, right? And I think you see a lot of people want to do something, but then they don't really apply themselves. Or I can't do that qualification, I can't do this project. But once they actually get into the nitty gritty of it, they can actually make things happen. They just got to stay the course, right?
Yeah, in resilience and doing what you say you're going to do, and actually be a little bit committed. Yeah. It goes a long way. And if you're one thing I've learned through my property career more so is, even if you don't have the skill set to do something yourself, you don't need to be the person with the skill set. You just need to work out who's going to help you. And that was huge for me, because I felt as if I was playing catch up on all my mates on my next career. I was like going into teaching in a specialist sports college. I thought, well, they're not going to get anyone better than me. I've been in the in the professional sports industry. I'm qualified up to the hill. I've been doing some part-time teaching for them, and I thought, well, surely I'm almost as good as what they've got. I might not have had as many teaching years experience. And then you go in and you're bottom on the ladder payment terms, and I'm like, this doesn't serve me here. I was like, it's okay if I was maybe 22, 23 straight out of university, but I'm not. I'm now 32, so this isn't I can't see this lasting a long time, and it didn't.
Yeah. So change your mindset. I think that's similar thing happened to me in terms of, I went to UWIC, did the course, I was out ex-British Army, so I was like the sports, boxing, and then what should I do? Our teaching. So went to UWIC, did that. I was doing the HNDI, I think, Higher National Diploma, HND, in sports coaching development. And when I was doing it, my dad said to me, what's the plan? I was like, a PE teacher. And he said, what will you earn? And I said, about 30 grand. And he's like, well, what are you going to buy in London? Because we're from London originally. And I was like, I don't know, and he's like, that's not going to get you very far. And it, like, that one sentence where, like, you want to make your father proud has, like, completely flipped my head. I was like, oh gosh, maybe I'm in the wrong industry. And that's when I started looking at other options then, changed my mindset completely. So, but you actually you got into it, and then,
And it was, and I'm a big believer of giving yourself choice. Yeah. And loads of people blame everyone else. And one thing I had to do was take responsibility for everything. At that stage, when I put myself in university, I had to take responsibility for ultimately my future. And once I got into the teaching, I felt as if I was good. But I used to see a lot of people, they get to their ceiling and they then resent the place that they're in, because there's a ceiling, they can't grow that. And I felt as if I was ambitious. I wasn't sure exactly where I wanted to be, but I wanted to be a PE teacher. I wanted to be the best. If I wanted to be a sports science tutor, I was really interested in psychology. I used to really love teaching the psychology modules. Yeah. And I thought, do you know what? I looked ahead to 5 years and I thought, I'm going to hate this in 5 years' time, purely because the stresses and strains that are put on the people in that profession is huge. It's always like, well, next year we want a bit more. We want a bit more. And they just want a pound of flesh all the time. And naturally standards are going to drop because they've got to tick boxes. And I saw the light at the end of the tunnel in 5 years' time. I thought, I'm not going to enjoy this in that time. So
where did that drive come from then? Obviously, was it ingrained in you from a young age, or being in like a professional footballer and being around that kind of winning mentality? Like,
I think you could probably look, where did it come from? I don't know. Probably my parents, my brother, sister. I'm the youngest of 3 kids, and they're 2 fantastic people to look up to and grow up with. My mum and dad, 2 fantastic people, and we're part of a bigger family too, like a big Irish family. My mum's one of 4, my dad's one of 10.
Yeah.
So it's a big community, big family, and it's just like you just want to. I don't know. It was just normal.
Yeah.
It was just just do what you do, be as good as you can, and then you get involved in a professional industry, and to be a 70-80%er is no good. It's not going to get you anywhere. And I wouldn't say I was blessed with the most talent in the world, but I'd say I ended up becoming a much more important member of teams than other people that were maybe more gifted than I was.
Because of work ethic.
Work ethic, knowledge on how to work with people, maybe doing all of my job and maybe helping other people around me. Like I've always been much better in a team than I am as an individual.
Yeah.
And even now in property, it's quite a lonely industry, so I've got to surround myself with people who are much more knowledgeable and much more skilled than me. Yeah. And I'm more than happy to play the bashful fool as the least knowledgeable person in the room. And I'm learning a lot as I go. But it's actually okay not to be the one that knows it all. Yeah. And it's okay, it's getting the best out of other people.
Yeah.
And ultimately, what can you do for them in order for them to be able to serve you the most?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Being in business is almost like being an athlete. You know, you have to work hard, be disciplined, play within a team, compete against other businesses, you know, to win deals in property space. So do you find that you could transfer those skills like quite easily into property?
I think sport massively helped me in that. Yeah. When I was playing in sport, I was when I was at Cheltenham for 10 years, and I was part of the furniture there. I was a local lad. I was the face of the football in the community scheme. I was the PFA delegate. I was the captain at one stage, and I was the person where the hospital would ring up and say, "Oh, can you send some players in?" A school would say, "Oh, can you send some lads in to maybe do some reading?" I was the one doing that, supporting all the local charities and all that. And do you know what? Sometimes it becomes a bit of a chore, but it should never be that way. We know, but lots of people used to swerve it, but it was always me there. But I tell you what, when I finished playing my football, when I was up at Bradford, and I came back to Cheltenham, I didn't realise there was actually so many people who were almost willing to help me in any way, shape or form. Yeah. They were like, "Oh, well, I might know someone who might be able to help you." Do you know what, Shane? And some kids who are maybe 18, 19 now, they'd be like, "Oh, you gave me my medal 10 years ago when I was like 8 or 9. Oh, it's amazing." And my reputation in the area was really good, but I didn't realise it. And I was very proud of the reputation I had. And then I was able to start realising, geez, your network is so important because there's so many people that can help you.
How did you? Well, last thing on the coach on the football stuff is, was there anything that you like, any coach or anything that was shown to you or said to you that you've just taken forward, like anything that's just stuck with you from them days of being in that team or being a professional athlete that you go?
I'd say standards is a huge thing. What will people say about you when you're not there? Like, and reputation is good. And in football, you're only as good as your reputation. Like if you see all these players in the Championship, League One, League Two, that they get transferred to a club, the chances are it's not even the manager that signed them. Yeah, there's now it's all done on data, but on a Saturday afternoon, you've got a manager managing their own club, and then you've got other players playing for other clubs. So that manager is basically working off some video footage and reputation. They're saying, "Oh, what do you think Joel's like?" Yeah. Oh, don't know how to stay away from him. Oh, why is that then? He's a bit of an egg. He's not good in the dressing room. Oh, okay. Oh, what's the good about him? Do you know what? Just stay away from him. Or great lad. Yeah. Perfect in your dressing room, fit in really well. That type of stuff. People talk. Yeah. And it's about standards, like little things. I remember one manager, before a game, you go to a hotel and maybe have a bit of a pre-match meal, and a couple of lads, there might have been like a couple of banana skins left on the table in the lobby where the boys were just relaxing before the game. First thing on a Monday morning, he's let the game happen, and he's come in and he says, "Why am I picking up 2 banana skins out of the hotel?" Where's your standards?
Yeah.
And it's just little things like that. And well, the fact that I'm talking about that now 15 years on,
Yeah.
you're thinking it's a little thing that I've reminded, just I can remember.
Yeah.
But there's lots of managers I played for. There's some good, some bad, and I had a lot of fun along the way.
Yeah.
But you can take something from all of them.
Yeah.
Because ultimately they've all found a way to get into that environment. And when you're in there, it's normal.
Yeah.
But actually, it's not normal to be in that environment. It is a bit special. It is elite to be in that environment. I'm very fortunate to have been a part of it.
Yeah. Someone once said to me, personal pride, like what's your personal pride? I think that links to kind of your standards then, isn't it? So and I think that's a really good like key takeaway in terms of, how do people speak about you? And I think, because you want people to say good things, right? Like, are you a good leader? Do you do what you say you're going to do? Are you going to deliver? And I think your reputation is key for deals come to us or clients come to us because of what we're doing in the industry. Yeah. So I definitely resonate with that one. So you got injured and you've gone down the teaching route. How did you then transition into property? Like how did that come about? Like where did that stem from?
It started Homes Under the Hammer, watching TV as a footballer. That was where I was always. It was something that always interested me, but I never did anything about it.
Yeah.
And then while I was at university, I thought I had basically what I'd done. All the money I'd had, I closed a pension that I'd had, and basically put a lump of cash in my bank. And I went, right, I've got 3 years. When I get to 3 years, I just need that to be plus.
Yeah.
It's like if it goes to 0, that's fine, but it's worth it. And going into my last year, I had about 18 grand, and I was like, and I decided to go and pay for some property education, because a big thing that I'm a big believer of is give yourself a choice. And I thought at that time, I didn't know whether it was going to be any good or anything, and I thought if I pay this now, I've got the choice. I've actually got a decision to make. I'm going to put myself in the shit, but I can do it. If I waited till the end of university, that 18 would have been, 8. I wouldn't have had the choice. So I did it, and I didn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
And I just threw myself into probably a bit of pain. And as it happened, I went through it, the education. It wasn't fantastic, but ultimately, it was because I had paid that money. It made me pay attention. In my head, I'm thinking, I am not losing that. I've got to make it work.
Yeah.
And then that's how it evolved, really. I kind of got involved. I did a property, made some money, then did another one and made some money. But it was a little bit of a false economy because I didn't know what I was doing. I knew what I was doing regarding I know this deal works, but I didn't want people to be taking the mickey out of me. So I basically turned into like a little bit of a labourer on a weekend, cleaning up. I was a bloke with a shovel in his hand, listening to the sparky talk to the plasterer, just making sure they weren't like getting together going, oh, let's fleece this guy.
Yeah.
And I didn't charge my time or my labour when in reality you've got to.
Yeah.
So I did a few deals, and I certainly I learned what I was doing just on a few smaller projects, just like flip projects really. I was just trying to build some capital. And then it was much further down the line where I thought, how do I turn this into a business? And that's when I started looking at other people. I was very much a lone wolf. I was like, I will do this. What a hero I am.
All by myself.
Yeah,
in the trenches.
It is. And I thought, do I train to be, what do I like? I like woodwork. Do I want to be a carpenter? Do you know what? I can do all the carpentry work. And then I just got involved with...
was that to save money, or was that just because you wanted the autonomy to take it on yourself? Or
I think it's a bit of both. No. I think it's a lot of people saying, well, if I'm a carpenter, I don't have to pay one.
Yeah.
But then the real business owner is, and it's actually standing me in good stead further down the line, is that I can't do any of it. So it's not as if I can turn my hand to, I can't be an electrician for a day. If the electrician doesn't turn up, I can't do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to do it. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Did you find it easy to trust the contractors that they were going to do the job?
What's the worst that can happen? Because now you go there, they don't do a good job. You've either got to negotiate them doing it again, or you're like, well, that's not going to work. You need to get someone else to come in and do it. It's going to cost you more money. Yeah. And then you take the lessons from it. It's like you debrief the whole situation. Like, okay, how do we avoid that happening again? What sort of processes can we put in place to make sure that if that's a problem that's cost us £3,000, next time how does it maybe cost you £1,000? And you constantly evolve in that way, because sometimes if you get too much time in the business, where's the next deal coming from? Where's the next project coming from? And I would say where I've evolved in our business is I'm very much at the front end, hunting for deals, hunting for finance, building relationships, essentially walking down paths where there's nothing certain there. There's nothing conditional. It's not like, oh, if I do this, I will get that. It's like unconditional action. It's just like when I got invited onto this, I wasn't sat there going, what am I going to get out of that? It's a case of, well, do you know what? Something might come from that.
Yeah.
Why not? Get up early, let's do that. What I wasn't willing to do was obviously give up my day with my little boy.
Yeah.
And you're grateful to accommodate in that.
Yeah.
It's great.
I think there is some things you should not negotiate on, and I think spending your time with your son is really important, and we appreciate you coming down to still, so we can make it work for both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of, say, I know you do some coaching, which we'll come on to after we've gone through the property stuff, is if you did have a client come to you and say, I'll give you an example, we've got a developer, a young developer here in Bath, and done some fantastic projects. And one of his projects at the moment, he's bought a mixed-use property, used to be an old orange shop, and then residential upstairs, and he's got planning, he's converting it to full residential, going to make it into a holiday let. High end, really good. Really excited for that project to be finished. But the builders have constantly let him down, and they're like behind, they swear, they're rude, it's probably the worst case I've heard of just like unprofessionalism within a project. I'm like, just get rid of them, get someone else. But he's like, oh, I need this project to be finished by this time. If I then, and he's on his second build on the project, so he has had a bit of bad luck.
Yeah.
So his mindset is, I'm going to take the crap, but just like manage him as best I can to get the project done, and then just find a new build on the next one.
Yeah.
Would you say that's the right thing because at the moment, last couple of years, some builders have been spoilt for work, and then there is some really good builders out there, super professional, but there's some that take advantage of.
What's right to do there is difficult. Because when you're in it, you're emotionally invested. Yeah. And it's all driven by fear. If you get, I kick these guys off, who's going to come in and repair this? Am I going to get someone in for the next 4 months? Are they going to be the same? Sometimes it's better the devil you know. Yeah. And I probably wouldn't be doing anything dissimilar. You're thinking if you can maybe bite your tongue a little bit just to try and nurture it. I don't know how far he is how close he is to the end.
He's so close now.
Well, so close. Yeah, there's probably
this
no
has been
point
going on for months and months. But
if we can get majority of it done, he can maybe get someone else to come in and snag it. Maybe that's you just got to sometimes just cajole it to the end. Yeah. But I feel his pain, and it's true that I was talking to a builder merchant friend of mine up in Cheltenham last week, and he said it's the worst year they've had for business in the last 4 or 5 months. Like all those people doing extensions, renovations, they just stopped doing it just because of the cost of living, and people are starting to get a bit worried about having some liquid cash. So the builders then, the trades, the average people that trades, it turned into, can you hold a paintbrush? Yeah, well, you're a decorator now. And people were taking on work and throwing people untrained into people's houses and into people's projects. Yeah. Then looking at it and going, have you ever painted before? Oh, no, not really, mate. Anyone can paint that. So luckily I didn't have that, but I heard so many stories, and I think it was a case of builders didn't want to turn down work, but they didn't have the manpower in order to deliver the good work. So I think everyone suffered. The client, the end user has suffered. The builder, the management or the managers, they've suffered because they're picking up the responsibility for their trades. Yeah. And I know loads of people that in the past 6 months have just started just stripping out their teams, just going, do you know what? I'm not employing these people anymore. Yeah. And you can see why there's so many subcontractors, and there's not many build firms that actually go to having 15, 20 people. Yeah. They've either got 5 or 55. Yeah. There's one or the other. Yeah.
So in terms of, you've gone through some training, you've done some flips. Yeah. What did you learn, and kind of how did you then move forward onto deals, like in terms of evaluating how deals stack up, like what are you kind of looking for?
Well, the biggest thing was, I wanted to be a developer. Yeah. And then quite early on I've been involved in property for a few years, but this is going back, it's about 2018. And I started thinking, how do I do this? And I was writing my goals, a bit of a process that I do, I write my goals down every day. Didn't do it today because I was on the road. Yeah. So I've not done it yet. Yeah. I will do it though. And I worked out where I wanted to be. And this one thing was, in 5 years' time, I wanted to be a developer. So actually, in order to become a developer, I need to get some development experience. And I was never going to do that on my own because a bank wouldn't lend me money. Even though I've got I might have had a reputation of doing 15 flips. I hadn't at that time. I hadn't that many. So I thought I need to find somebody who was actually going to be able to qualify to get lending off the bank. So I very much started thinking, okay, to do this on my own is going to take too long. To do this with other people or someone else is going to take me much shorter. So I basically started working out what type of person did I need to find, and just started looking. And he's still my business partner today.
Yeah.
And I called him up one day. We randomly bumped into each other a couple of times. I met him at a PIN meeting. Then there was a couple of viewings, and just started having a bit of a chat. And then I thought I had a chat with him. We still laugh about it now. And I rang him up and went, Andrew, I said, if I was to bring you a deal, a development deal, and you thought it was a good deal, and I was able to maybe bring some finance to that deal, would you help me deliver it? And obviously, I positioned that question in such a way.
If you bring me a deal and the money, will you help me? Yeah, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that was it. And obviously, that was my aim. But it started a conversation then.
Yeah.
And then 6 weeks later, there was a project that came available, and we looked at it. But we spent probably a few weeks on it, quite intense meetings, but we didn't get it done. It wasn't something we could manage to happen because it was quite a distressed property. But what it did, it took us closer to the goal.
Yeah.
Then, I still remember, January the 15th, 2019, got introduced to a distressed site in Cheltenham in a really nice place that was a partial build, and there were some people living in one of the houses that was connected up to gas bottles, but the rest of the site was not even built. So as you can imagine, as a broker, you can see this is not easy to lend on.
Yeah.
And there's me going, come on, let's make this work.
Yeah.
So, probably a little bit naive, really.
Yeah.
And the bridging finance was on it, and they were getting into a lot of pain. Went to view the site. We thought, how do we make this work? Because these people were in a difficult, awful situation. And with that, it then turned worse. So then, sadly, one of the people on the site died. And then it turned into a probate issue. But ultimately, analysing the deal, Andrew was like, right, there's a hell of a lot of risk in this site.
Yeah.
This is where I was leaning on his experience. I was like, right, well, okay. And he was very, very much someone that he said, focus on the risk, let the profit look after itself.
Yeah.
And that's a really big thing that we've taken all the way through.